Things Militia, where I discuss a lot about what's going on in the political world and topics that pertain to everyday life. Thank you to all of my subscribers. As always, I appreciate you guys. Happy Sunday to you. I hope you've had a wonderful weekend. Don't forget, if you see a video that you like, to give your girl a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below because I want to get your thoughts on what I'm discussing. Share the video. And if you're new to my channel, welcome. You can do all those things, and don't forget to subscribe. So I'm coming on here today, you guys, to discuss a man, George Soros. I don't know if some of you may have already be familiar with him or not, but he's someone who President Trump has recently called to be investigated for RICO charges, saying that he's been behind a lot of the disruption in our country. I want to get into it a little bit, give you a little bit more of what he's about. This is a video titled "Why George Soros Donated $1 billion to Fight the Spread of Nationalism." Now, you know that President Trump is a nationalist. He's about America, make America great again, and is direct opposition to the New World Order that wants the world to come under globalism, where we all come under one government. So let's look into this a little bit.
Billionaire hedge fund tycoon George Soros is best known in the UK as the man who broke the Bank of England by betting against the pound. In the US, he is known as a major Democratic political donor and one of the foremost philanthropists focusing on democracy, with lifetime giving that tops $16.8 billion. Born in Budapest, Hungary in 1930, Soros survived the country's Nazi occupation and emigrated to the United States, where he began his career in finance. In 2020, Soros gifted his birthplace over $1 million to help prepare for the coronavirus pandemic, as part of a $130 million commitment for COVID-19 aid worldwide. With his personal experiences influencing his philanthropy, Soros established open society foundations over 40 years ago to promote democracy and human rights around the globe. With an annual giving of $1.2 billion in 2020, the foundation's causes range from economic equality and justice reform to anti-discrimination. Amid the protests for racial equality last year, the foundation committed $220 million to support leaders in Black communities across the United States. In January, Soros pledged $1 billion to take on the spread of nationalism through a new university network for teaching and research. Claiming this was, quote, the most important project of his life, Soros hopes to build on the Open Society Foundation's work.
The most important event of his life, fighting against nationalism. Isn't that interesting, you guys? Let's look into it a little bit more. Like I said, you know that President Trump is a nationalist, which is a person that is for their country. Every country should be, I remember President Trump saying every country should promote their own country, you know, put their country first, make America great again. It's America first, not us helping out everyone else in the world while we, you know, suffer. But let's look into this. This is resident, you know, if you look at him, senile, our former corrupt senile President Joe Biden, giving George Soros, his son, Alex Soros, who is taking over his father's legacy, his evil legacy, I should say, giving him the highest honor, Presidential Medal of Freedom. Interesting of who gave it to him. Corruption, honoring corruption.
Accepting on behalf of George Soros is Alex Soros. The Presidential Medal of Freedom is awarded to George Soros. Born into a Jewish family in Hungary, George Soros escaped Nazi occupation to build a life of freedom for himself and countless others around the world. Educated in England, he settled in America as he became an investor and philanthropist, supporting key pillars of open societies: rights and justice, equity and equality, freedom now and in the future. His inspiring generosity reminds us all of our capacity and our obligation to stand up to the abuse of power and to be guardians of democracy and all people yearning to be free.
sounds good until you realize it's a load of crap, claiming that he's fighting for freedom while at the same time trying to work to turn this country into a communist country. And what they failed to mention in that little introduction is that he was kicked out of his own home country, reportedly. And I could just imagine what you were a part of to be kicked out of your own home country. You know, it kind of reminds me of another person that was kicked out of his home and that was sent down to Earth, that, you know, to steal, kill, and destroy. It's like he has something in common with that other person that we know that got kicked out of his home. But at any rate, you guys, let's look into it a little bit more. Now, mind you, he is a top donor to the Democrat Party. So now we see why the Democrats are fighting tooth and nail against President Trump. President Trump is a nationalist. He's about America First agendas, while the Democrats are about open borders and transgender agendas. But this is he and his son here. Look like he had him late in life, because it looked like he's old enough to be his great-great-grandfather. But this is them. It says Alex Soros huddled with top Democrats shortly after taking over his father's non-profit empire. Yeah.
Alex Soros, the son of billionaire financier George Soros, has taken control of the Open Society Foundations, OSF, a powerful non-profit network that supports left-wing causes. Since assuming leadership, Alex has been meeting with high-ranking Democrats and publicly sharing his encounters on social media. He recently hosted an event in New York with House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries and other influential Democrats. Alex has a history of privately meeting with and publicly posting pictures of himself with prominent politicians, including Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. He has also visited the White House multiple times and enjoys extensive access to the Biden administration. Alex has made significant donations to Democratic campaigns and organizations, although not as substantial as his father's contributions. The nature of his meetings and the individuals he has met with during his visits to the White House remain unclear.
Yeah, I bet you does remain unclear. Interesting, you guys. He was also seen photographed with Jasmine Crockett, among other Democrats. And now and you know what they all have in common? Anti-Trump, anti-America, anti-God, for the most part. Let's look at some more.
Democratic Party and Hillary Clinton. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. As you may know, the 85-year-old billionaire is a far-left fanatic whose Open Society organization advocates no borders anywhere in the world. According to Soros, everyone should be able to go wherever they want for any reason and stay there. Recently,
really? No borders anywhere in the world is what he believes in. How do you have a country if you don't have a border? You don't have a country if you don't have a border. That's number one. And with this country particularly, it's just interesting how people can come from outside and get all of these free benefits at the expense of the taxpayers. I think we're the only country that offers that. So why wouldn't people want to come here? And now we have a president that's that has closed up the borders. He's not against immigration. He's against illegal immigration. There's a reason why we have laws. For the party that always likes to talk about no one is above the law, they sure do try to get around that one. Illegal immigration. Let's look at an everyday person who just learned about George Soros just like I did.
Yo, I had no idea who George Soros was. But baby, the deep dive I went on. So pretty much George Soros is the deep state. I used to be a Democrat and I used to vote with my feelings and I never researched anybody. But now I research everything.
It's interesting she just said that. She said, I used to be a Democrat and I used to vote with my feelings, and I never researched anyone. That's pretty much what a lot of us have done, specifically in the black community. We were told, vote blue no matter who, because they were for black people and they give us welfare and government cheese, you know. So we just voted blue just because of that. Never did the research to see why is it that 60 years after the civil rights movement, we have still yet to overcome poverty, still yet to get ahead. Everybody else comes into America and they get ahead, but we are still at the bottom of the totem pole. Because all they have to do is say someone is a racist and we get emotional and we vote against them. Not realizing that the very people telling you that someone else is a racist are the ones that have been behind racist policies that have kept us back. Not only black people, but Americans as a whole.
Everybody. So I kept saying it all in my comments, and y'all were like, oh, Obama passed that because of George Soros. And, oh, she got elected because of George Soros. So I'm like, who is George Soros? And baby, the rabbit hole I went down.
The last 2 years, you've been blamed for financial collapse of Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Japan, and Russia.
All of the above.
He looks proud of that.
Are you that powerful?
Now, I still don't quite comprehend how one man can crash the entire UK economy, but my husband said he's going to explain that to me tonight in like simple, basic bitch terms so that I'll get it. So once I get all my facts on this demon, I'll be back to let y'all know for the ones that are like me and new to this research Republican life.
Yeah, she said once she gets all her facts on that demon, she'll come back and let us know. At least she got that. She's researched that part, that he is a part of the Lucifer Club.
1.
This is the fight of a lifetime. For decades, we've been ripped off, humiliated. They got rich. We got nothing.
They got rich and we got nothing.
It is not enough for America's...
Before I just been flipping videos, you guys, but this is Hillary Clinton. It says it's June 2004 when it was dated. This was her inviting George Soros into the U.S. politics.
Future that some participate and others don't. We have been given an extraordinary blessing, and at this moment in time, our country needs us, and we need people like George Soros, who is fearless and willing to step up when it counts. So please join me in welcoming George Soros.
And anybody that, I would say this, anybody that she welcomes and praises has to be a part of the of Satan's family.
It is the first time that I feel that I need to stand up and do something really and become really engaged in the electoral process in this country. The reason I feel that I had to get engaged is because I don't think this is a normal election.
It is not.
Okay. A little bit more of him, since he, has been engaged in our election process since, 2004. He felt, an urgency to get involved in our political elections. This is him calling Trump administration. This was President Trump's first administration. He called it a danger to the world. Wow.
Clearly, I consider the Trump administration a danger to the world, but I regard it as a purely temporary phenomenon that will disappear in 2020 or even sooner. I give President Trump...
Wait a minute. What did he just say? Let's back that up, you guys. Disappear in 2020. What is he talking about?
Temporary phenomenon that will disappear in 2020 or even sooner. I give President Trump credit for motivating his core supporters brilliantly, but for every core supporter, he has created a greater number of core opponents.
That's a lie.
Who are equally strongly motivated. That's why I expect a Democratic landslide in 2018.
Now that's interesting, you guys, how he talked about a phenomenon in 2020, and we know what happened in 2020 with that COVID pandemic. I believe it had to be a collaborated effort of different nations, the Democrat Party, some rhinos, him, that played a part in that, making that event just. They made it like it was a plague of Egypt, you guys. And then it's been reported that the vaccine killed more people than the actual virus, but they don't want to talk about that. People were saying that the virus was created to bring about the vaccine. Let's look at some of the comments on this. Trump must be doing a better job than I thought. Yeah, when you have someone that works for Satan telling you that you're a danger to the world, there's no other way to think of it. Somebody says this guy is the model for every James Bond villain. This man has no business in our paying to play in our politics. He has blood on his hands. And now he's influencing the whole of America to hate Trump. It's interesting because they always use the same talking points. He's a danger to the world. He's a threat to democracy. Whenever it's someone that does not go along with their agenda. Remember how they did that with Saddam Hussein? Remember how they said the same thing about Muammar Gaddafi? Like anyone that doesn't go along with their agenda is always labeled a threat or some form of dictator or authoritarian, when that's actually what they have been trying to be. When you have a party that mandated a new vaccine, like I've said on several occasions, that's a dictatorial, that's like something like an authoritarian government to make you or force you to take a medical procedure. Okay, they was running my body, my choice when it came down to abortion, but they didn't take that same attitude when it came down to that vaccine. And it was under the guise of health care. Yeah. Health care, while you're busy giving illegal immigrants free health care, and everyday Americans that work hard can barely afford to get their darn teeth cleaned. They always come with noble causes, but don't tell you, that's how Satan came. Satan came the same way, deceptive. Oh, he knows you surely won't die if you eat of this fruit. You think if Satan would have told Eve, you won't die right now, but now that after you eat out of the fruit, y'all gonna have to work hard to till the ground. You're gonna have hard labor when you give birth to your child. You're gonna have to come under the rulership of a man. If he would have told her everything that would have come along with that, making her making that decision, I think she would have made a different decision. But of course, just like Satan, they can never tell you everything that they're behind. They come acting like they're for right, but they're for wrong. A little bit more of this, you guys. This is him talking about China and how it must become part of the New World Order. And we know that that virus came from China, reportedly. And I think that was probably used to try to usher in the New World Order. You know, they have an agenda called Agenda 2030. If you haven't heard about that, you may want to look it up. We're, 4 years away, a little under 4 years away from that, what they were trying to plan, saying that we will own nothing and be happy while they own everything.
Potential deal should Obama be seeking to strike when he travels to China next month?
No, I think this would be the time, because you really need to bring China into the creation of a new world order, financial world order. They are kind of reluctant members of the IMF. They play along, but they don't make much of a contribution because it's not their institution. Their share is not commensurate their voting rights are not commensurate to their weight. So I think you need a new world order that China has to be part of the process of creating it, and they have to buy in. They have to own it the same way as, let's say, the United States owns the Washington Consensus, the current order.
I wonder when he said that if he, meant that they have to be a part of it, if that COVID pandemic was a part of that, their new world order agenda. The pandemic that came in over the whole world, shut down the U.S. economy. A virus that had a 99% survival rate shut down a whole economy. A little bit more of Satan's helper.
That logically it doesn't make sense, but so many people of power are sitting there endorsing it and saying, yeah, we should be doing this.
Politically communists, mental communists, spiritually Satanists. That's what I think what is happening, because most of these people, in my opinion, just sold their souls to the evil. I'm not sure if they are aware of it, but the things they do are spiritual, in my opinion. This is not political only. Who? Maybe 300. Look at the fruits. Look at Soros. His president, his history. You know the history of Soros. He had no problem to sell people, basically, during the war. And he said, if I wouldn't do it, someone else would do it. That was his explanation. So when I look at Soros and others, they are evil people.
That logically...
Well, he said something important, you guys. He said it's just not political, it's spiritual. And indeed, we have seen that over the past several years, that it's a battle between good and evil, right and wrong. When you have a party that has gone against God himself, if you want to be honest about it, God created man and female, created he, them. Okay? And then they tell you, well, you can be whatever pronoun you want to be. They're anti-life. They push abortion. That's anti-God. You know what I'm saying? It's so much stuff that and that's that got me on Christians. You know what I'm saying? Like we say that we're Christians and no one is perfect. We know that. But at the same time, calling yourself a Christian and then you're voting for a party that's against Christ-like policies, trying to take God out of school, take God out of everything, but claiming to be for a noble cause. And it's very well spiritual, you guys. This is another clip regarding Soros.
Also by a group called Indivisible, which is founded by Ezra Levin and Leah Greenberg. They both authored a 23-page Google Doc called Practical Guide for Resisting the Trump Agenda. Some people online have claimed that they're communists, and you'll never guess who donated. And I know they mentioned him, but $7,600,000 to that group is George Soros.
No way! Oh my gosh!
Stop at the end of all.
You think Soros is just funding all this?
And Mike,
I thought he was clean air and forestry.
And I want to ask a question, Mike. It seems to me that the majority of these events, this destruction, this chaos in America, always goes back to the money, and it's George Soros. How do we not hold that guy accountable when he is the nucleus? He's the main problem, and now obviously he's getting older, and it's going to go down to his son. The No Kings protests are organized also by a group called...
He's in his 90s now. I think he's holding on to the last hope of trying to see his vision of America being destroyed. This is a guy who's on record saying that he does not believe in God. And he's one of the top donors to the Democrat Party. And to end it out, you guys, this is our president, President Trump. You know, he just came out, like I said recently, calling for Soros and his son to be investigated for RICO charges. Hopefully that will happen soon. We can get this infection, out of American politics, because George Soros also is reportedly behind funding a lot of corrupt attorney generals and DAs in our country. Many of them, I believe, were used to go after President Trump. So it's interesting, but let's just see.
what we voted for.
As we completely overhaul the Federal Department of Justice and FBI, we will also launch sweeping civil rights investigations into Marxist local district attorneys. And that's what we have. They're Marxists in many cases. These Soros prosecutors appear to be engaging in selective enforcement based on illegal racial discrimination. In Chicago, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and every other city where these maniacs have taken over. In addition, we will have a complete investigation into the use of police state tactics by federal authorities to arrest conservatives and Christians. We have to confront this radicalized law in schools. We have to reform the far-left bar associations and stop the purge of conservative lawyers from major law firms. I will do whatever it takes to save our legal system among the greatest achievements of Western civilization from the Marxist barbarians who seek to destroy it. And we will do that. We will save it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I pray that you are successful in your effort and working against the enemies of not only this country, but enemies of God. When you fight, when you are trying to take people's free speech away, target people's right to bear arms, when the only thing you promote is transgender and abortion and illegal immigration. And we learned how, you know, when Elon Musk came in under Trump, how they were behind a lot of money laundering. That's where our tax dollars were going. So when you drive down the road and you keep hitting that same pothole that's been there for the past 10 years, now you know where your money is going. To transgender and animal research. Thanks to the likes of people like this who have financed the Democrat Party that is now a communist party. And that's why they're everything that goes against this country. That's why every day all you hear is anti-Trump, anti-America. And they always try to make it like, oh, we're fighting for civil rights causes. And they love to use black people. They love to talk about how we're being disenfranchised, et cetera, et cetera. But like I've stated before and I'll state again, name one piece of legislation that party has signed into law. Not what they said, because like that other former guy said, look at the fruits. What have the fruits of Democrat policies produced for black people besides poverty, among many other negative things? What has it produced? So hopefully here soon we'll be able to see him in handcuffs. I don't care how old he is. You can be 100 years old. You do the crime, you got to do the time. That's my opinion on it, you guys. Let me know yours in the comment section, and I'll see you later.